Hi, kids. Okay, time for Scream. A new horror franchise enters the picture in this series. So far, we covered Romero's Dead series, then Halloween, then Evil Dead. And the last entry into this is Scream. Here on out, talking about all of the Scream movies. Um, so this one comes out in 1996. 1996. Horror was kind of at a low point. We have had six Nightmare on Elm Street films. We've had six Halloween films. I think we've had eight Friday the 13th films. Uh, Horror explodes in the 80s. The slasher is largely to Halloween. And then there's the copycats. And then what happens is studios begin to realize that um, they can just give you the quantity because you're so hungry for this, right? Nobody has been giving you this amount of horror before. You'll take it all without really paying much attention to the quality. Horror films are cheap, of course, uh, but they kind of cheap out on them. Also, the rise of VHS, you realize you can make pretty good money in video sales, not relying so much on the box office anymore. Um, so oversaturation, watering down of the market, drop in quality. Prior to the release of Scream in 1996, um, the number of horror films produced by major studios, the percentage of films being produced that are horror is at an all-time low. In comes Scream to inject something different. And maybe you don't like what it does, but it makes horror popular again, or a certain kind of horror. Anyways, so I've already done a video on Scream last October. So I don't want to repeat too much of what I said in that. And planning on this channel will have a podcast. We're going to do, fingers crossed, an episode on Scream. Fingers crossed that will be released on Halloween. We shall see. So I don't want to say too much that I'm going to say in that video or that podcast either. But Scream, written by Kevin Williamson, uh, was watching television, report more murders in Florida, gets some creepy crawlies down his neck, goes into the kitchen, I believe. There's an open window, doesn't remember opening that window, calls a friend, grabs a knife, explores the house while he's talking to his friend in case something happens. And then in his conversation with his friend, gets the idea for Scream. Script gets sold to Dimension Films, which is a subsidiary of Miramax. Talked about Miramax in Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers video I just posted right before this one. Uh, and then Wes Craven, of course, is director, but he needed some financial persuasion to direct the film because Craven felt like he kind of had said all that he wanted to say about horror and franchises and A Nightmare on Elm Street in Wes Craven's A New Nightmare, which is very meta like this film. And he was trying to show that he could do other things. I just made Vampire in Brooklyn, a horror comedy. I was hoping that that would open some doors to other things other than slasher movies like Scream. Um, so, at this point, I am going to just talk about some of the horror films that are verbally referenced in this film because I've talked about everything that's referenced visually and on screen and alluded to and homaged. And this video would be 20 minutes long. So let's just mention some of the films, starting with the opening with Casey. She says her favorite film, Halloween. Uh, Ghostface uh, asks about the guy with the knives for fingers. So then we're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street. Then we get to the skill testing questions. who's the killer in Friday the 13th. She gets wrong because it's Mrs. Voorhees. Jason doesn't come until part 2. And then my favorite reference is when Billy comes into the window and he tells Sydney that he was just thinking about her because The Exorcist was on TV. Great boyfriend. Red flags there, Sydney. Red flags. And then in the video store, there's a customer asking about a film, which is Howling. We get told about the formula to it all with Jamie Lee in Prom Night. There's the curfew, the town that dreaded sundown. Tatum in the garage right before she gets got. She references I spit on your grave. And Randy refers to Billy as a Leatherface. Chainsaw Massacre. And then they talk about when they're using the fake blood, just like in Carrie, that's corn syrup. And then lastly, Billy quotes Psycho, all go a little mad sometimes. Those are just the films that are referenced verbally. There's a lot more in that film. Just wanted to do something a little different, nerd out for a little bit. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe,